everyone, and thank you for joining me for day 8 of Art with Miss Choate. If you followed along to yesterday's post, we made those prints out of things we have in our house. So we're going to be taking these prints and we're going to be adding calligraphy onto them. So if you, depending on your age, depending on your comfort letter with lettering, we're going to be doing some block letters. We're going to be doing some just, plain, straight, lowercase, uppercase lettering. And we're also going to get into some a little bit more advanced calligraphy. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do when it comes to calligraphy is picking your medium. So you could start with pencil if you like, if you want to draw out your quote first in pencil, or you could go straight to markers. There's different tips, so depending on what you have in your home, we'll talk about all of them. So like the slanted wider tip, or on the other end of this marker is the thin tip. If you don't have markers but you only have like a pen or like a felt tip, we'll talk about those. You can also use colored pencils, pretty much anything. You could also use a paintbrush. That's going to be the hardest form in my opinion. So we'll show you all of those things. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I haven't done calligraphy, like I do a little bit of calligraphy here and there, but I used to be really good. It's just like a language. You're going to learn and you're going to forget, and then you're going to get better again. And then you can forget if you don't practice it. So the first thing I like to do is draw it out in pencil, and I will sometimes look at lettering online. The first thing, so if you already know cursive, then you can just start with how you write. I go super slow so I can make sure I'm staying on this nice even line. So once you have it wrote down, now if you did in pencil first, and like I don't care for those S's, you could either go back, erase it, or this is when we can start to go in and add our thicker lines. If you do have a calligraphy pen at home, then when you're doing your thick line to thin line, it would already happen. But some of us don't have these supplies at home. I have them, I just can't find them. So I'm going through and I'm thinking about it would be thin to thick, thin to thick. And this is where I'm thin, and now it's going to be thick. So you're going to go around thin, be thick over here. So you're going to be going in, and you're just going to manually be adding those thicker lines. So you're going to think about if a brush was wide and thin, as you're moving it around, as you're dragging it around, how would it change? So this is a way to do it if you don't have the proper supplies at home. So if you're doing a pencil, you could either go back in with pencil, or now that you have your guidelines and you're feeling pretty confident, and again, you don't have any markers or anything at home, then you can go ahead and do it with your felt tip, but it might take you a couple of times to go back. Try to do some of these things in continuous motion, and if you can't, get it to a good stopping point, like where things overlap, so you can't see where your pen might bleed, and you can come back and make those areas thicker. You're going to follow along that pencil line. I'm going to make that a little thicker. And you might correct yourself as you go. So now I'll show you it with a normal washable marker, how you can use this angle to be your thick and thin as if it's a calligraphy pen. So you're gonna start up high, angled high, with just the point, and then you're gonna bring your angle down so more of the marker is on the page. So again, just the point when you want it to be thin, and then you slant your pen down in your hand to be a thin line. And again, you can do the same thing going over, fixing those areas. Thick line, thin to thick, thin to thick. Now these markers tend to be a little bit bigger, so you might want to write a little bit bigger. I had a lot more control over the pencil, but they work pretty well. And maybe you don't need to add that thicker line. Maybe you're getting the idea if you have that slanted pen. We do the thick and the thin. You can also go in, add other little details. Maybe some things that we learned about earlier in the week, the lines, maybe some little floral elements. The sky is really the limit on this. Don't be worried if you have lots of paper in your house, or if you don't and you need to practice on like a whiteboard or a plastic surface that can wipe off, go ahead, practice. That's what you're gonna need to do, is just take the time to practice on this. So depending on the difficulty level that you want, maybe instead of doing cursive lettering, we can try just doing some interesting straight lines or block letters. So remember, pick a quote that you like. I just, looked up a few. And you can, even if you're doing block letter, you can still make it interesting. Like I'm thinking about leaving gaps in these. And I'm gonna do all caps. If you need to, you can, if you don't have a ruler at home, set something that's straight across or another sheet of paper across. That way you can really see like what that straight line is. Or if you're not worried about a straight line, or you want to put a line across diagonally, that's fine. I do tend to like to do these in pencil first in case I make a mistake, but I will be going over this in another supply. What typography do you resonate with, or does it go well with the quote? Really think about your space, filling it in. If you make a mistake, fix it, or I don't really care for how these aren't centered, so I could add something over here when I'm done. And now you can go back in if you have markers, crayons, whatever you have at home, and you could make them into block letters. So we're gonna do block letters up here at the top. In order to do that, I'm just gonna trace what I have and make those lines thicker. So this can be really good for somebody who is younger, or maybe you don't have the best handwriting, that's fine. Turn your regular print into a block. They could have rounded edges, but you just start with the foundation. Now do be careful when you're coloring. with that marker. You can see those lines, and I don't particularly like those. So I'm just going back and giving it a second coat. And remember, these are angled, so if you want to give yourself a thick line so you don't have to do multiple, you can. Look at that, that was pretty easy. That looks better than that one, but I'm learning. So I'm going to do that thick edge again, dragging it around. I'm really pushing that thick line down on the page. I'm really liking how this is looking. I'm using a little bit of pressure to keep that line thick. I'm not going up on a point. Remember, you can change up colors. Have fun with it. Oh, I just realized. And I do this a lot when I'm doing calligraphy or lettering. I spell things wrong because I'm thinking about each letter, and so my mind sometimes will skip letters. So if this happens to you, there's lots of different ways you can fix it. You could be silly with it and put in a little that caret to put the missing letters in, or you could cut this out, or you could take another piece of paper and glue it on top, because why waste? Why? Or think this is practice and say, oh I miss the I-N. So I'm just gonna do a little caret for us. I-N, and guess what? I'm learning, you know, I know that about myself, that I break it down and I forget letters sometimes. So I'm gonna switch up my supply. This is even possible with a crayon, doing it to the side, coming in thicker. If you have, like yesterday's video, or I mean the day before that, where we did those words, the I am, you know, you could draw this out or give them that base lettering, or even have them do it in their handwriting. Now say, go back over it, make it thick, make it like a box, or make it like a bubble. Everyone can always practice their handwriting or their lettering. I used to practice all the time. I find this very relaxing. And again, if you don't find it relaxing, then pick either a font that you really like, or do you have your own style? I don't want this to be frustrating. And for this, maybe I'll just keep it a thin tip and just trace over my pencil line. Even just trying to retrace yourself, you can actually grow a lot as an artist. You're practicing your fine motor skills. Even trying to trace over somebody else's. If you know your parent wrote for you, and then you can go back over theirs. And same thing, you can draw some floral elements or look up some different things. I do like to find inspiration online. Sometimes I don't always know what to do, and that's okay. It's okay to look and then turn it into your own. When you're practicing your calligraphy, once you feel like you practice your words enough on another sheet of paper, or if you feel like you don't need to practice and you want to go straight into doing calligraphy on a background, let's jump into that. So I still will want to do it in pencil first. And think about how you put it on your background. Where do you want it to be? I kind of want this to be in the center. I'm going to put stay optimistic. So we're going to have our S. And maybe I could have my optimistic be curved. That could be interesting. And sometimes when I'm doing a curve, I'll turn my paper as I go. Now that you have your word written in pencil, you can go back in, either do what I said before about doing it in pencil, making those lines thicker, if that helps you. If you found that that technique, you know, helped you stay on track with making it uniform, you could either do that, or you can go back in straight away with your markers, colored pencils, whatever medium you were using. But do remember, think about color. Don't just, oh, this was close to me, put it in there. We were talking about the hot colors on our background, so the red, yellow, orange. So it could be nice to put a cool color on top, so either a purple, a blue, or maybe you stay in that hot color family, so maybe you do a red. I'm gonna go with doing that opposite. I'm going to think about the complementary color to red, which is the color that's across from red on the color wheel, which is green. So I'm going to take my green marker, and remember, where it's a small line, you get up on the tip. Where it's a thick line, you come out wide. Now remember, if there's bumps in your page like there are in mine, it's going to cause your pen to dip a little different. You can always go back and fix, like I don't like it here and here, but I'm going to go back in a moment and fix that. So there's our Stay Optimistic on top of our background that we created before. So remember, the things I'm teaching you, these techniques, these different projects, you can put them together. I want to see, how do you play with the different things we're learning? This is a great time for us to be exploring and to be inspired by each other. So there we have it. There's some different calligraphy options. We have where we mixed our printmaking with our calligraphy. Maybe you don't want to try doing cursive, or you don't know how to do cursive yet. So we're doing block letters, playing with the angle. That's what's really important. Do you have your pen up at a point to get a thick line, or do you have your pen at a slant to get that thick line? I mean, depending on the supplies you have in your house, you might have one that's like this, or a pen or a pencil, or go back in and physically make them thicker and thinner with your pencil. So here you have a couple different ways that you can go about doing calligraphy at home with your limited supplies. If you have any questions about any of these styles or techniques, please comment below or shoot me a message, and I will always answer any questions you have. Thank you so much for joining today. Hopefully you learned something about lettering, calligraphy, or if nothing else, you just took this moment to relax with me. Maybe you found a quote that you like, that you really resonate with, and you just wrote it on top of some background, or you didn't do yesterday's video and you just tuned in for this one. That's fine. If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all of that. Pass it on to somebody, that you're, social quarantined with. Maybe they didn't know you were doing this video right now because they have to work and you're not working. And so whatever your case may be, if you enjoy this, if you relaxed with me, please do share it, because at the end of the day, what I think matters most is that we're all creating every day, and that we're, spreading positivity through the world. And I know I'm an art teacher, I'm an artist, so maybe this makes sense to me, but art is how we can share joy in the world without talking, without using words. Maybe we don't speak the same language, but this is how we can spread some love and some joy in the world, especially in these uncertain times. So please share this along, or share your ideas, or share the art that you made in this video. All of that I really appreciate. So have a wonderful day. Bye.